This cereal is delicious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, folks. The 8:15 has been delayed. The 8:15 has been cancelled. Replacement bus services are available.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Come on, give me 5.
Amazing. Great driving.
Good morning and welcome to West. Leading into this Thanksgiving week, we're grateful for you guys to be here with us today in person and online. If you will stand and join us in singing. Let the King of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life. Oh, he is my song, and you are good, good. Oh, and you are good, good. Oh, and you are good, good. Whoa, and you are good, good. Whoa. Let the King of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves. Oh, he is my song. Let the King of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days. Oh, he is my song, and you are good, good. Oh, and you are good, good. Oh, and you are good, good. Whoa,
in the dark and all alone, growing comfortable. Are you too scared to move and walk out of this tomb, buried underneath the lies that you believe? Safe and sound, stuck in the ground, too lost to be found. You're just asleep, and it's time to leave. Come on and rise up, take a breath, you're alive now. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? You're brand new, the power of death couldn't hold you. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? Rise up, out from the grave like Lazarus. When he said your name, the thing that filled your veins was more than blood. It's a kind of love that washes sin away. Now the door is open wide, and the stone's been rolled aside. The old is gone, the light has come, so come on and rise up. Take a breath, you're alive now. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? You're brand new, the power of death couldn't hold you. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? Rise up, out from the grave like Lazarus. He's calling us to walk out of the dark. He's giving us new resurrected hearts. He's calling us to walk out of the dark. He's giving us new resurrected hearts. Oh, come on and rise up, take a breath, you're alive now. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? You're brand new, power of death couldn't hold you. Can't you hear the voice of Jesus calling us out from the grave like Lazarus? Rise up, out from the grave like Lazarus. Rise up, out from the grave like Lazarus. All right, you may be seated.
Good morning, West. It is good to see you. I'm Amy Coles, and I have the privilege of being here this morning. I am filling in for Andrea while she's taking a pre-Thanksgiving, a little bit of time away. I'm a United Methodist pastor who works with our bishop in Huntersville, but it's great to be back with you. It's been a long time, but love to come here and worship with you online every week when I'm not here. I want to say a word of welcome to all those that are here this morning, as well as those who are worshiping with us online, and those who will be listening to the podcast or watching the video later. We are so glad that you're here. We're glad that you have taken your time to worship with us as we continue in this message series entitled Peace, Love, and Rich. Peace, love, and rich, as we think about what it means to be in the top 1% of the world's wealth. And how do we balance that with also existing to give ourselves away? So we're going to think about that this morning and think about this week before Thanksgiving as we think about how we can give ourselves away and how we can live lives of gratitude, knowing how truly rich we are. No matter how much financial wealth we have or how much we think we have, we are truly a people who are rich. If you're new here to West, want to welcome you especially, and if you're here this morning, hope that you got a gift out at the VIP tent. If not, please go out there and grab one after the service. And if you are worshiping with us online and are new here, we invite you to text the word welcome to the number that you should see on your screen, and I'll read it out too in case you're listening in the car or somewhere else. It's 704-343-8955. 704-343-8955. A couple things I'll just lift to you as we think about ways to give ourselves away and to give thanks is this afternoon there's some great ways to serve as we're spending this November in doing that with some partners across the area. And so from 1 to 3 o'clock, you can go to the Humane Society and plant herbs in the planter boxes that you already built. And those are going to be used to feed the exotic animals at the Humane Society. Now, I've been thinking about that a little bit. Wonder what kind of exotic animals there are, but maybe you decide to adopt one while you're there today, too. Who knows? And then also from 2 to 3:30, there's an opportunity to go to Bridges of the Heart and to fill birthday bags for the children there. So either of those are open to you. Dawn and others will be out in the gathering area when we finish the service, and you can get connected and get plugged in to go do that. One last thing is, a part of the service today, we are going to do a bit of a quiz using a platform called Mentimeter. So I'm going to invite you to take out your cell phones, and you can either use the QR code or type in www.menti.com and use the access code. And you can be ready for the time in the service where we're going to answer those questions. Don't look at them ahead of time, but just go ahead and get ready, and you can use that QR code or the website, and then we'll be ready. But again, welcome. We are glad that you're here. Let us now continue to worship God.
I'm not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am proof, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. Another round of bullets hits my skin. We'll fire away, 'cause today I won't let the shame sink in. We are bursting through the barricades and reach above the sun. We are warriors, yeah, that's what we'll become. Won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm gonna send a flood, then I drown them out. I am brave, I am proof, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared drown 'em out. I am brave, I am proof, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me, oh. This is me.
So you want to deep fry a turkey? Excellent choice. As far as I'm concerned, there are two basic food groups: fried and deep fried. Before you break out your bird, hang on a minute. You got to do this right. Make sure your turkey's thawed all the way. Turn off the burner when lowering the turkey into the oil to avoid flare-ups. You never want to hear while frying a turkey. Use your fryer outdoors, away from wooden structures. And always, always have a fire extinguisher on hand, especially if you have an uncle named Si.
Uh-oh. By the way, did you see which way my turkey went?
Don't be like Si. Hang on a minute and think before you fry.
Hey, I can fix this. I wonder when that turkey's coming down.
How are you still alive?
So some practical help before Thanksgiving. And can I ask you, if you decide to fry a turkey, could you not do it in the woods unless we get a bunch of rain before Thanksgiving, so that we don't have any more forest fires as well? But again, as we gather together this morning, we're thinking about what it means to have peace, what it means to be filled with God's love and be able to share that, and what it means to be rich. Last night, my nephew and I were talking a little bit about what it means to be in the top 1% of the world's wealth. And his question to me is one that many of us probably have had, and that is, why are we so blessed? Why are we the ones that are in the top 1% and others aren't? And some of those answers we'll say are, well, we've worked hard for it and we've inherited it. And really, it's a question that I can't answer. I'm not sure how God set up the world, but what I do know is a couple of things. The first is that to whom much is given, much is required. And that's what I shared with him, is that as those who are blessed, as those who are in that top 1%, then we're required to give to others. We're required to share that wealth and to use what we've been given, to be generous to other folks. And then the other thing that I know is that, we need to make sure that everybody across the world has the basics of what they need. That's God's picture for this world, is that no one doesn't have the basic necessities. And so then that bumps back to the fact that we do need to share, and we do need to be good stewards to use carefully the resources that God has given us. So on the Sunday before Thanksgiving, I thought we would start with a few fun Thanksgiving questions, and then we'll share the results at the end of the service. So again, if you would go to the QR code, and or use the menti.com website, type in that number, and you should be able to see the first question. And our first question is this. You'll be given a choice of answers, and that is, what is your favorite food for Thanksgiving? What is your favorite food for Thanksgiving? If you'll put in your answer. You're allowed to do one choice and then hit submit. What's your favorite food for Thanksgiving? And I apologize if I didn't include your favorite food. You can tell me after the service as well. Our second question is, what do you do following your Thanksgiving meal? What do you do following your Thanksgiving meal? Do you take a nap? Do you watch football? Do you take a walk? Do you go shopping? Do you socialize? Do you go to work? And then the next one is, in 2022, what was the cost of the average Thanksgiving meal for a party of 10? Some of you may be having that many folks over. So what was the average cost for a Thanksgiving meal for a party of 10 last year in 2022? And then finally, I'm going to give you an opportunity to just begin to think about what you're thankful for. And so for what are you most grateful? And you can give up to 3 answers. For what are you most grateful? Shouldn't be too hard to pick 3. All right, and again, we'll share the answers at the end of the service as we see how well we did and also look at what we're most grateful for this Sunday. So as I was growing up, one of the questions that was asked of me, particularly when someone gave something to me, was this question: what do you say? Or it was usually phrased like this: what do you say now? What do you say? And I learned quickly that my answer was supposed to be, thank you. Thank you. And I also use that, I admit, to teach my niece and my nephew to say thankful when they were given a gift or when they were given a compliment or when someone did something nice for them. What do you say? You say thankful, thank you. You say thank you. And I learned to do that because it was polite, first of all. My parents were big on that, and so they taught me to say those words frequently when I was given something. But I was also taught and learned that if I didn't say thank you, I might not get anything else. I can remember my parents telling me that lesson. If you're not polite, if you don't say thank you, well, then they probably won't want to give you another gift. And then the reverse of that is that if I said thank you very genuinely, it truly might ensure that I got another gift. Early on, saying thank you was a whole lot about me. Doing what my parents wanted and being polite, but also ensuring that I might get another gift because it was about what I wanted or what I needed or what made me happy. And what took a long time for me to figure out was that saying thank you wasn't so much about me, but that it centers the giver. It centers the one who is giving a gift. You know, we say thank you, don't we? We don't say thanks for me, putting myself in the center, or we don't say thank you for what your gift means to me. We say thank you, which puts the giver in the center, which makes the giver the focus of our message. The generosity of that giver who doesn't have to give, but chooses to do so that we might have something that we want or need or that would make us happy. And you know, when we think about it that way, it doesn't matter if we like the gift or need the gift or are embarrassed about the gift. As we say thank you, we are putting that giver in the middle, in the center, making them what's most important, letting them know that we appreciate, that we're grateful for their generosity. I want to take a look at some scripture this morning that talks about that from the book of Psalms. think about the book of Psalms, it's generally, if you have a Bible, it's when you open it up, it kind of falls open to the book of Psalms. And what the book of Psalms was the worship book for the Hebrew people. It's the book that they used in order to worship God on the Sabbath. And the Psalms are great because one of the things about the Psalms is that the writer and the writers of the Psalms were incredibly honest. So you can, as you read through the Psalms, find places where they were angry at God and where they were upset with God and where they were pleased with God. And it always helps me to know that my feelings aren't isolated, that I'm not the only one that feels that way, but that there were others that came before me. But this psalm that I want us to take a look at this morning, Psalm 136, there are actually 150 psalms in the Old Testament scriptures. But Psalm 136 is definitely one that I think was used for worship. It's just the way it was written and the way that it speaks. It was a reminder to people of their history. So I'm going to ask you to help me as we share together in this psalm. You're going to have a refrain. And so they'll put that up on the screen. Not too hard to remember. The refrain is, God's love never quits. Can we say that together? God's love never quits. God's love never quits. So I'm going to read some of the psalm, and then I'm going to point to you, and that will be your time to come in with the refrain. Again, just like a song, the refrain will come in over and over again. So here's how this psalm begins. Thank God. God deserves your thanks. God's love never quits. Thank the God of all gods. God's love never quits. Thank the Lord of all lords. God's love never quits. Thank the miracle-working God. God's love never quits. The God who formed the cosmos, God's love never quits. The God who laid out the earth's foundations, God's love never quits. The God who filled the skies with light, God's love never quits. The sun to watch over the day, God's love never quits. Moon and stars as guardians of the night, God's love never quits. The God who struck down the Egyptian firstborn, God's love never quits. And rescued Israel from Egypt's oppression, God's love never quits. The God who took Israel in hand with his powerful hand, God's love never quits. Split the Red Sea right in half, God's love never quits. Led Israel right through the middle of that sea, God's love never quits. Dumped Pharaoh and his army into the sea, God's love never quits. The God who marched his people through the desert, God's love never quits. Smashed huge kingdoms right and left, God's love never quits. Struck down the famous kings, God's love never quits. Struck Sihon, the Amorite king, God's love never quits. Struck Og, the Bashanite king, God's love never quits. Then distributed their land as booty, God's love never quits. Handed the land over to Israel, God's love never quits. God remembered us when we were down, God's love never quits. Rescued us from the trampling boot, God's love never quits. God takes care of everyone in time of need, God's love never quits. Thank God who did it all, God's love never quits. God's love never quits. Now, I do have to tell you that I think you may have just done the first responsive reading in the history of West. So mark this day, and if you're new to West, know that this doesn't happen often. I just decided I could maybe get away with it since I'm the guest. But I think it's an important thing to think about as the psalm is written in that way, with that refrain over and over and over again. And who's the actor? Who is the central part in the psalm of thanksgiving? The psalm talks about what God does. It's not talking about what the psalmist feels or what the psalmist thinks about it, but it's centered on what God does. All that God has done for the Hebrew people, the people of Israel, from the beginning of creation up until where they were at that moment. God formed the cosmos. God created everything that there was. God filled the skies with light, the sun by day, the moon and the stars by night. When the people were in Egypt and they had been enslaved, God called Moses to free the people from that slavery. And as a part of freeing the people, God led them to the edge of the Red Sea, where God split the Red Sea in half and allowed the people to walk right through it. And then the seas came back together, just as Pharaoh and his armies were going through that. And it allowed the people of Israel to get free. It was God who, after the people who had wandered in the desert and in the wilderness, it was God who gave the people a land. It's a land that we find still contested today as we experience the war between Hamas and Israel, where three groups of people think they all belong to that one piece of land, and each one of them thinks that they'll wake up tomorrow morning and the other two will be gone. But it was God who gave the people the land. And then it was God who was with the people when other armies came and kicked them out of that land for a period. And it was God who allowed them to come back in, who remembered them when they were down and helped to buoy them back up and helped to give them persistence and perseverance to do what God was calling them to do. As they rehearsed all of this history, the thing that they remembered the most was that God took care of them. God took care of them all the time. And the refrain is that God's love never quits. God's love never quits, which is really why we're rich. We can't get out of reach of God's love. God is going to continually love us whether we know it or not, whether we feel it or not, because God's love never quits. And that, to me, is at the heart of a life of gratitude. It's not the stuff I have. Rather, it's that God's love envelops me and then allows me to love others. And God's love envelops you and allows you to love others. And then together, we're called to make a difference in the world. A friend of mine, Sarah Howard Miller, reminded me about this psalm, that this refrain is almost like a heartbeat. That with every line, it's God's love never quits. God's love never quits. It's like a heartbeat that helps to give us life. Is that reminder that God's love is always there, and there's nothing we can do, not one thing, to get so far out of the reach of God that God can't and won't love us. The heartbeat of gratitude. Which is why during Thanksgiving, one of the things I like to do is to think about this picture. It's a picture of 5 pieces of corn on a plate. Now, sometimes I've done this at my Thanksgiving table, other times I haven't, but it's a good reminder to me of that being grateful isn't being grateful for the stuff, but more being grateful for the God who created and continues to take care of me. The 5 pieces of corn symbolize a legend that was as they split up the produce on that first Thanksgiving, as they split up the things that they had been able to harvest, that each person at that Thanksgiving table got 5 grains of corn. that was all, but they did get something to sustain them. Now, it's legend. I don't know if that happened or not. But to me, it's a good reminder. And then other people have taken this further and said that each of the grains or kernels of corn symbolizes something. But I just like the stark picture of that 5 kernels of corn on that plate. Usually before I fill it, a lot more full than that is, as a reminder that God does provide. And that even with just a little, God sustains us. And God allowed the people after that first Thanksgiving to grow more and more, and so that they could sustain themselves as they went forward. 5 pieces of corn. And this another story that I think about comes from a man by the name of Sean Dietrich. Clap if you've ever read the blog Shaun of the South. Has anybody ever read that? I urge you to go find it after the service today. It's under Shaun of the South. Sean Dietrich is the author of it. He is a person that lives in Birmingham, Alabama. He's a writer. He's a storyteller. He's performed a couple of times at the Grand Ole Opry and just writes a daily blog that I use as the last part of my devotions every day. After I've meditated on the scriptures and spent time in prayer, kind of my reward to myself is to read this blog by Sean Dietrich, because he's an incredible storyteller and always has a wonderful point at the end that sometimes makes me feel good, sometimes brings about some sadness, but important to think about. But he has a way of just reminding us about what's important in life. And he tells this story in a blog that he did at the beginning of October about going into a Dunkin' Donuts. And as he went into this Dunkin' Donuts, he realized that there were lots of people in the Dunkin' Donuts, and there was one clerk behind the counter. We've been in those Dunkin' Donuts lately, haven't we? As folks are having a struggle getting help to be a part of their businesses. And so there was a pretty long line, and Sean got in that line, and what he realized was that the girl was running back and forth trying to fulfill all the orders, and what the people that were there in line decided to do, rather than waiting in line, was to order from their phones, as if that would help. Kind of go figure, right? There's one girl, she can only fill one order at a time. But they thought that would make a difference. And so he got in the line. He didn't know how to order from his phone. And so got in the line to wait to order. And he noticed that there was a young girl in front of him. And he saw the people growing impatient. And he was a little concerned in that. But he noticed this girl. And then he noticed a woman beside her. An older woman, and the older woman said that, said to the girl, where are you from? And Sean said that's when he kind of noticed that this girl was kind of, her clothes looked ragged, and she smelled kind of sweaty, and her toes were peeking out from her shoes, and she had scabs all over her. And the girl said, well, I'm from Georgia. And then the woman said, well, are you having trouble deciding on what to order? And the girl said, yeah, I am. And the woman said, well, what you need to order is some of each. That's what I always do. But the girl said, I can't. I don't have enough money. And so she looked at the woman and she said, what about the apple fritters? Should I order the apple fritters? And the woman said, well, they're okay. Not great. And then the girl looked some more and said, well, what about the chocolate glazed? Are they good? And the older woman said, well, yeah, I'd give them a 7 out of 5 for how delicious they are. And then she asked again, she said, well, when I was younger, Mom would get the chocolate glazed. And the woman said, well, you're kind of still a kid, aren't you? And she said, well, no, Mom lives in Georgia, and I grew up in Atlanta, and I moved here with my boyfriend. And the woman said, well, do you like it here? And she said, well, it's okay. I'm not with my boyfriend anymore. I'm out on my own, and it's so hard. The woman said, where did you sleep last night? And the girl said, well, out under a train that was parked. And then she went on and said, what about those sour cream donuts? Are they good? Pretty girl, said the old woman. But what about your parents? Don't they miss you? Wouldn't you like to go back and spend some time with them? And the girl said, nah, they hate me. And truthfully, I don't blame them. I've got problems. Oh, we all have problems, said the woman. Well, the girl replied, not like mine. My dad's a church guy, and he kicked me out, and he won't talk to me, and so I've got nobody. And the woman was silent for a minute. And then the girl said, what about those old-fashioned donuts? Are they legit? And she said, yeah. The woman said that, yeah, that's what I always get. And the girl smiled and said, well, I'll get the old-fashioned because you can't go wrong with something that's old-fashioned, can ya? No, ma'am, said the woman. So when this girl finally got to the counter and got ready to order, the older woman jumped in front of her. And without asking her first, she began to order for the girl. My friend would like 4 chocolate glazed, 2 old-fashioned, 2 sour creams, and a couple of the apple fritters. And then she paused and looked at her friend and she said, I don't know your name. And the girl said, well, my name is Rachel. And she said, well, what else would you like? And the girl couldn't speak. So the woman paid for the girl's donuts. And when the transaction was finished, the young woman shook the older woman's hand and said, I'll never be able to thank you enough for all of this. And the woman said, oh, it's just a few donuts. It's nothing. And the girl said, no, as she sniffled a little. It's not about the donuts. It's about the fact that you asked what my name was. You asked what my name was, and then the girl left smiling. Friends, that's what God's love is all about. That's what it means when we say the refrain, God's love never quits. That even when you think that everybody in your life has turned against you, that God will provide someone to say your name, to know your name, to treat you as a human being, to know that you are valued and loved, and that your life has a purpose. That older woman was incredibly generous that day. Not just because she bought the girl more donuts than she would have been able to afford, but because in that point and at that time, she saw that girl. And she wanted to know her name. Her name. The thing that defined her. That which said she was a beloved child of God. So as we think about how we can be generous during this week before Thanksgiving and beyond, may we remember that our job, that our call, is to take God's love that never quits and share it with others, that they too might know that they're valued and they're loved. I want to close with a prayer from a book that I just love called Ash and Starlight. And one of the things that I find sometimes is getting books of prayer is helpful. I get sometimes bored with what I pray. Sometimes I worry God does too. But there are times when I pick up a book of prayers and the way somebody else writes it is just what I want to say to God and it's really helpful. So this is a prayer in this book that's entitled When I Need to Say Thank You, Even If I Don't Feel Like It. Would you pray with me? My friend, my God, in all things I can say thank you. Not because I'm comfortable, not because I'm alone, and not just companioned in this journey, but held, loved, supported, blessed by you, because your love never quits. The one who promises there is always, always abundance. The one who soothingly says all will be well. The one who gives enough light, enough wisdom, and enough peace to welcome today with vulnerability and humble grace. Oh God, your gifts come in all kinds of ways. Please help us not to miss them, especially the little ones. Maybe even when somebody remembers our name. And as we witness your work, still our souls long enough to pause and say, thank you. Thank you. Amen.
I only talk to God when I need a favor.
And I only pray when I ain't gotta pray.
So
Who the hell am I? Who the hell am I to expect a savior?
whoa, whoa, if I only talk to God
When I need a favor,
God, I need a favor.
I know amazing grace, but I ain't been living them words. Swear I spend most Sundays drunk on my back than I have in church.
Hardcover King James, only been saving dust on the nightstand. And I don't know what to say by the time I hold my hand.
I only talk to God when I need a favor.
I only pray when I ain't got a prayer. So tell me
Who the hell am I? Who the hell am I to expect a savior?
whoa, whoa, if I
Only talk to God when I need a favor.
God, I need a favor. Amen.
Yeah, I need more than one, and beggars can't be choosers.
But I'll pay for all I've done. Just please don't let me lose her.
Only talk to God when I need a favor.
And I only pray when I ain't got a prayer. So tell me
Who the hell am I? Who the hell am I to expect a savior?
whoa, whoa, if I
Only talk to God when I need a favor. God, I need a favor. Amen. Amen.
just barely throwing up prayers like Hail Mary, still there. Lord, spare me. Oh my God, Hail Mary, hanging in there. Just barely throwing up prayers like Hail Mary's, if you're still there. Lord, spare me. Oh my God, Hail Mary.
I only talk to God when I need a favor.
And I only pray when I ain't got a prayer. So tell me who the hell am I to expect a savior?
If I only talk to God when I need a favor. God, I need a favor. God, I need a favor. Amen.
Good job. So let's take a look at the results of our poll, if we can put them up on the screen. First, our favorite Thanksgiving food is the dressing. That's amazing. All right. The dressing is our favorite. What do you do following your Thanksgiving meal? Socialize with family and friends. Only a couple people are taking a nap. Nobody's taking a walk. That's kind of interesting. I need to take a walk. The cost of the average Thanksgiving dinner for 10, you all said it was $71. Actually, research tells us that it was $64. And here's the good news. They're saying that in 2023, the average cost is $61. So it's gone down a couple dollars. So I hope you'll be able to take advantage of that. And then we've done a word cloud with the things for which you're thankful. And so obviously, in a word cloud, the words that are named more are in bigger. So family and friends certainly are those that we are thankful for. So I hope that you have an incredible Thanksgiving holiday. An incredible Thanksgiving that's filled with peace, that's filled with love, as we all remember how rich we are in God's love. Go in peace and have a great week.
Yeah, I owe you more than one, and beggars can't be choosers.
But I'll pay for all I've done, just please don't let me lose her.
I only talk to God when I need a favor.
And I only pray when I ain't got a prayer. So tell me who the hell am I, who the hell am I to expect a savior? Whoa, whoa. If I only talk to God when I need a favor, God, I need a favor. Amen. Amen. And in there, just barely throwing up prayers like Hail Marys if you're still there. Lord, spare me. Oh my God, Hail Mary, hanging in there. Just barely throwing up prayers like Hail Marys if you're still there. Lord, spare me. Oh my God,